On FiveEyes.tv. Today I will be speaking to Basil Hodge, who is a jazz pianist and composer. Welcome, Basil, to FiveEyes.tv.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Good. Basil, you've produced 2 albums for Zeal Records. Can you tell me how this materialised?
Yes, well, I've been playing music for a while, jazz, and doing the odd gig and playing around the country. And then round about 1999 I started to compose. It wasn't really planned, I was practicing as usual, and I found that I was listening to what I was practicing and hearing nice melodies, and I started to write it down, and then next minute I was trying to put some chords to it, and then started to compose, and then I thought, hey, I've got a tune. And then I started to write some more, and before I knew it I had enough material to record a CD, so I was lucky enough to get some good musicians, and I thought, let's go for it, and I recorded the CD, and it was lucky enough to get a distribution deal, and some good reviews, and I got it, you know, the CDs in the shops. I got some airplay at Jazz FM.
Wow.
And yes, I produced it myself, and that's hence Zeal Records, that's my company. And yes, that was my first CD, and then 6 years later, during the 6 years I started to compose, not so prolifically, but I added some more compositions, and then I had enough material for the second CD, and I recorded that in 2008. And again, I managed to use the same distribution company, and again it's in the shops. Got airplay again, and now I've got 2 CDs now that's out there. I sell a few at gigs as well, and yeah.
Excellent. So how long did it take you to produce your first album?
Well, it took about a year to write the tunes, and then probably another year to rehearse it, record it, and then get it mixed, mastered, and released. So probably 2 years in all, from conception of the tunes to getting it to the shops and getting it all ready for release. And was it the same length of time for the second one as well? More or less, yes. I think the second one, in a way, we played the gigs. We played more gigs with the second one, so so it was well sort of gigged out and well played. So we didn't spend much time preparing. Once we were ready, we went in and spent more time on the second one, in terms of I had 2 days to record, whereas the first one did all the tunes in 1 day.
That's good.
Which was a bit ambitious, you know, because I think, you know, it takes a while to warm up, and certainly the latter part of the day we were more relaxed and the tunes were better. So, and the second one is different. I sort of recorded it in one place, and then I got another engineer to mix it. And also we managed to get a recording studio, a very acoustic type, big warehouse studio, and sort of done it more or less live with not too many microphones, you know, or headphones I should say.
When did you realise that you wanted to become a jazz pianist? I
would say, you say jazz pianist, but probably I wanted to be a musician, a keyboard musician, because I was really into the soul and funk music, and even the fusion jazz funk music of the 70s. And I saw a band called Light of the World who came to play in
I remember them.
Yes, Ilford Town Hall, which was one of my local clubs, and they inspired me. The keyboard player was there, and I thought, oh, you know, with a bit of practice, and I think I could do that. So I decided, you know, to learn a bit about the piano and some chords. But whilst I was doing the piano lessons, my taste changed a bit, and I got more into the jazz. So I started to fall in love with jazz, and then I guess I was getting more proficient with the piano from classical, and then I started to have jazz lessons with a teacher called Tim Richards, a one-to-one, to learn the jazz language, you know, the blues and improvisation. And I think it was then, you know, with a bit of work, I think I could manage to become a jazz musician, I think. So
what age did you actually start playing the piano, or start learning to play the piano? It sounds like you were quite old.
I probably started later than most. I remember at junior school, so I would have been around about 8, something like that. I remember having some lessons. There was a teacher at our school. It was free as well. I remember taking the grade 1 there. And I don't know how long I spent. I probably spent a year, and then I stopped. And the piano was always at the home, and I always kind of tinkered around and was trying to learn chords and learn Stevie Wonder tunes. But then again, going back to when I saw High Tension, the band, I decided to do some jazz lessons, and I started off doing some more classical grades, and then I went to jazz, and then done some there. So.
Where did you study music?
As I said, I started privately with a classical teacher called Christine Ochova. So I had her for about 4 years, done the grades, and then I had a private tuition with Tim Richards, who was a jazz teacher, and then I had spent a year at Goldsmiths College in London. So that was the training. So
where have you performed?
I've played at Ronnie Scott's, I've played at festivals, Swanage, Ealing Jazz Festival, I've played at the Vortex, I've played at the Crypt, I've played places like Nottingham, Norwich, places outside London, the Foyers, the Royal Festival Hall Foyers, National Theatre Foyers, you know, all the South Bank type gigs. And sort of pubs, and certain pubs and clubs up and down the country.
Some hotels? Hotels,
yes. I've played at Claridge's.
Savoy?
Savoy, that's right. Dorchester. And obviously I do some private functions as well, some sort of weddings and christenings and so on.
So if people wanted you to play at one of their functions?
Oh yes, I'm always available.
Something you'd do?
Something I'll do. It's quite good fun, you know. Yes, nice background music.
So tell me about Ronnie Scott's.
Well, it was amazing because when I was really into the jazz in the 80s, you know, I'd go to Ronnie Scott's. If you was a musicians union member and a Ronnie Scott's member, you'd get in for £1 or £2. Between Mondays and Thursdays. So I used to see all the great players, legends, Art Blakey, you know, Heath Brothers, and sort of those guys. So I never thought I'd play there. I thought it'd be a while, but it's taken a while. But finally,
that must have been a wonderful feeling, though.
It was a nice feeling. It's a nice club. It's a very nice club, and it was nice to play there. You know, so yeah, it's good for the CV.
Have you played with anyone famous?
Well, famous, not well, so famous. I've played with people like Tony Kofi. They're famous within the jazz field.
Yeah.
Jim Mullen, Dave O'Higgins, those sort of guys, are quite high profiled.
So, what are your fondest memories?
Of?
well, the places you've played?
Gosh, they're all, I get good fun out of all of them, you know, out of all the gigs. Again, Ronnie Scott's was a really good memory. And there's the Boxford Fleece in kind of sort of Norwich way, which is nice, good crowd, quite intimate. But generally, you know, there's another club called the Watermills Jazz.
Whereabouts is that?
That's just outside London. Gosh, my memory's gone now, but that's a nice, intimate, very quiet audience, and the piano is very good. I've got a good Yamaha grand there, and I always seem to play quite well there, and the band. That's a nice gig.
I'd like you to tell me a bit more about your composing.
Right. Well, I don't have a method as such. It's something that just came out. You know, I think it was just a culmination of playing and practicing over maybe 5, 6, 7 years, and then just getting enough music inside me, and then just thinking differently at the piano. So, you know, because jazz musicians are constantly creative.
Yeah.
And I suppose when you're improvising, you're creating melodies and ideas. So it was just a matter for me of one day just writing the stuff down, playing something and then writing it down and thinking, oh, that looks good, sounds good for a melody. And then thinking, oh, let's put a little bit on. And then think, oh, I've got to write a bridge now and change the feel. And once you do that, you start getting ideas. You think, oh, this sounds like a Latin flavour. You can feel, or this one's going to sound bluesy. So you start jotting things down, and then ideas start to flow. So
does this happen in the morning, in the night?
It could happen, usually happens at the piano, but sometimes when you've got half the music down and you're thinking, you know, something, you just start thinking about, oh, what am I going to do there, or you're tinkering around. It could be anywhere. It could be in my day job, it could be...
So what do you do then, if you're in the middle of doing something?
Well, I remember once on the train coming back on a station, and this idea came to me, and I thought it was a strong melody, and I knew I would use it, so I rang my landline and hummed the tune into my voicemail.
That's a good idea.
Yes, so because the thing is, you get an idea, it just goes as quickly as it comes, and then you can't recall it. Well, I can't anyway. And you think, damn. So, and then of course I get home, play back the voice message, and then write it down on the dots, and then I've got it. So it comes anywhere at any time, but generally it's at the piano, certainly piecing it all together and playing it back and, you know, experimenting with it.
This is Paulette on FiveEyes.tv Profiles speaking to Basil Hodge. We'll be back shortly. Light of the World and Eye Tension in the earlier days. Do you have a favourite artist now? Or group?
Yes, artists, I think James Brown, Kool and the Gang, Earth, Wind and Fire.
So Kool and the Gang, are you talking about their earlier days?
Early days, 70s, very much all 70s really, of those guys, 70s. I don't know why, but...
Summer Madness, Winter Sadness.
Yes, and Jungle Boogie.
And Spirit of the Boogie.
Yes, Open Sesame.
Yes.
Yes, so yeah, they were quite good. And then I liked, that was more the funky stuff, and then I liked the soul as well, particularly Philadelphia. Yeah. The OJs particularly. You talk about a good group.
Oh gosh, yes.
I like Eddie Levert's voice.
Eddie Levert, yeah.
Yeah, but they've done quite a few, about 3 albums I like of theirs of the 70s. Yeah.
To me, there's nothing nicer than actually seeing a live band perform and they're tight.
Yes, yes, yes. I wish I saw more of that sort of stuff, you know, the soul band, you know. But yeah.
It's never too late.
Yeah, they're still going, some of them, aren't they? You know?
That's correct. What advice would you give to anyone who wanted to become a musician?
Well,
because it's not easy, is it? You have to be practicing.
You've got to be practicing. You've got to have the talent, and you've got to put the work in. You've got to love the music. You've got to love it, which that drives you on, the love of the music.
Yeah.
And you've got to listen. If you like, you've got to listen a lot to all the classic albums, and eventually you'll find your favourite jazz. If it's a saxophone player, the style you like. You might like Coltrane. You might like Hank Mobley. And then you try and imitate them, and just learn the language, and then just learn from listening and just try and incorporate what the greats are doing, and eventually you'll find your own voice, your own style.
So tell me a bit more about the trio, the quartet, that you're the band leader of.
Yes, I'm the band leader. I tend to, I've got a trio, which is always good to have as a pianist. I think it's always good to have a trio, because you play the melody, and you sort of set the scene, set the mood. And they're good for small sort of budgets and intimate, like weddings and small venues. And I play a lot more standards rather than my own originals. The quartet and the quintet tends to be when I play my originals. The quintet, which is usually trumpet and sax, which is a classic hard bop lineup. So the sax can harmonise a little bit with the trumpet in terms of melody, harmonising the melody, so you get a sort of a nice thicker sound. Those are the two main lineups I have.
Off your two albums,
yes,
which track would you say was your favourite?
Ooh, tough one. They're all my favourites. All your
babies.
Babies, yeah. I think because I've played it so often live, there's a track called Habanera from the first album. There's something about the rhythm. It's a Latin rhythm, but it's quite interesting, the structure of it. And and it's always a challenge to play as well. So I think that I'd give that one just the edge.
Have you played abroad? Have you travelled abroad with your
Not as much
trio?
as I'd like. Not with the trio or my band, actually. I've done it with other bands. I went to Germany with a funk soul band called the Medicine Band. And I went to Switzerland with a gospel soul band as well. So that was the only couple of occasions.
What do you do?
Just generally relax. I play some tennis, go to the gym, socialise. That's probably it.
Do you go to clubs?
I go to, again, it's music again. I go to, hang out with other musicians. So sort of more of the socialising, going out. Live music, it might be pictures, or theatre, depending on who I'm with.
But at least you find time to do other things.
I do find time for that, definitely.
Now, what plans does Basil have for the future?
Well, I'm hoping to do a tour. I'm trying to get the Arts Council. There's a scheme on there called Grants for the Arts. So I'm working with Chris Hodgkins, who's the Director of Jazz Services, to try and see if I can get some money to, again, tour the country, promoting both CDs. I know they've been out for a while.
Doesn't matter, they're good.
But I need to just tour them, and maybe with a mind of doing a third album. Again, I don't know what I'm going to do, whether it's going to be a trio album or even something funky and, you know, varied. So that would be the plans for next year, and just try and get more work, generally, get more gigs, and just, yeah.
I was going to say, you seem to be very ambitious. Have you thought about doing musical scores?
Well, I mean, I've been in touch with this gentleman approached me who liked my music, and he wants to, you know, he's a publisher, so he would like to publish my music to go on to films and downloads, TV and stuff like that. And he did mention that, you know, if I wanted to do like a commission, he might call me up to write something for something specifically. So
I reckon you'd be really good, because I've listened to your music, and one of the first things I was thinking about, gosh, this could be for a movie. Yes,
it's got some drama in it, I should say.
Yeah.
And it'd be good if somebody rang me and then asked me. So then I've got a deadline, and then I have to then compose, not wait for inspiration, but start, you know, probably get a brief of what sort of mood I've got to try and create, and then that would be nice. So you can sort of hone my compositional skills a bit more, take it further.
It sounds like you work well under pressure.
Well, listen, we all have to, don't we?
Earlier you talked about being inspired by Light of the World, but who would you say actually inspired you throughout your life?
Musically, speaking.
Well, musically, socially, it doesn't really matter.
I think I have to start with my mum, who, you know, she was always hard-working. She was quite creative. She was into poetry. She used to recite, as they say, recite.
Really?
Yeah, oh yes. I've got an older brother called Rudyard, although we call him Tony. And she used to make up her own poems as well. She was, you know, and then my older brother had a piano in the house, and just the music around me, really. And I don't know, I just got inspired by music generally, and seeing black people play and express themselves, and I think it's all spiritual and uplifting. Some people say it's linked to the church and linked to the blues. And I think I've got all that in there, in me.
Yeah,
and,
sounds like you came from a talented family anyway.
Yeah, I think there was music. I think my grandma played piano as well, so I do believe it's in the genes. I do believe that. And when you've got something inside, somehow it wants to come out, you know, and that's what sort of drove me to, you know, drew me towards the piano and drove me to practice and create.
This is Paulette on FiveEyes.tv speaking to Basil Hodge. We'll be back shortly.
Yes, so I've got a current quartet now. They've been with me since 2006. I've got Tony Kofi, who plays saxophones, Larry Bartley on double bass, and Winston Clifford on drums. So we're quite a very tight, hard-swinging unit.
And how long have you been playing together?
Since 2006. Sometimes with a trumpeter, but recently, last year or so, as a quartet. And the band's evolved, the music's evolved a bit, as we've been playing quite a bit.
Tell me about your background.
Yes, I was born in Stoke Newington, Hackney, and then my family moved to Seven Kings, which is just outside London in Essex. Moved there when I was 5, so I grew up in Ilford, Essex. And I still live in Ilford now, actually, although I've lived here and there. But I bought a flat in Ilford, which I rented when I was living in North London, South London. And I got a family of 5, I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters. And,
are you the middle?
Absolutely, well done. I'm very much the middle one, yes. Probably the most creative of the 5, the quietest of the 5, I'd say. But, you know, like there's always fights and arguments and getting back together in general.
Is there anyone in your family that plays the piano?
Not really. I mean, my sister played the violin, but my grandma played piano, and I had an uncle. In terms of inspiration, my uncle was a big inspiration in terms of music. He lived with us for a while, my mum's brother.
Yeah.
And he played accordion, he played guitar, he played harmonica.
Gosh.
He sang, played a bit of piano. And it was all natural, and he had that feel. It wasn't like classical music, or he just played. And
just like to play music.
Yeah. And he was quite fun, because our family are quite religious, especially my mum's generation. But he was a bit cheeky, you know. He would go to the betting shop, or he'll sneak in a bit of whiskey. He was funny as well. Again, with all his instruments and accordion. And he was certainly an influence, I have to say, into his character and his positiveness, and the fun, creativity.
So definitely come from a musical family.
I would say so. Yeah, it's definitely there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting with the piano being installed into the house, and then my uncle, and again there was a lot of music in the house, reggae, even going back to ska music, reggae, and then soul, or sort of early soul, what I'd call Al Green stylistics. What my mum used to listen to, those sort of stuff, and it all fed into my system. Yes.
So before you were a jazz musician, what type of work did you do?
Yeah, I worked, done quite a bit of different types of work. I worked in the civil service. Did you? Yes, and I worked in the betting shop as a betting shop manager.
All right.
Right, and then, so I'd done all this when I was sort of learning to play the piano.
So you were doing really, weren't you?
Yes, so supporting myself in a way. I had bills to pay, and I joined the local council, Islington Council, as well, so on a part-time basis. And also I appeared on Radio 3 with Claire Martin Jazz Lineup, where I spoke about my latest CD, Sound Reasoning. And I played a solo piece afterwards, live on the show, which was
that was good.
It was quite an experience.
Did you know you were going to do that, or was that on the spur of the moment?
I think it was a little bit spur of the moment, although it was a bit. The piano was in the studio, obviously, and I actually played the tune "Sound Reasoning." That's the solo version, and I was surprised I only had the one take. I thought I'd play one.
That's really good.
I thought I'd just get used to the piano and just settle down. But the man said, "Oh, that's fine, great, thumbs up." So I thought, "Oh,
excellent." I bet that made you feel good.
Yes, I felt, oh well, it couldn't have sounded that bad, because I was just easing my way into it. But sometimes the first take's always the best one.
Basil, have you got any gigs lined up?
Yes, I've got a trio gig at a place called the Archduke, and then I've got a gig at the Hideaway, a quartet, which that's going to be original compositions. I'm looking forward to the Hideaway one. It's a nice venue, apparently. A lovely venue. I've been there on a few occasions. Oh, right. Yeah. Yes. Oh, that'll be very enjoyable. Yes. I will be there. Oh, great. Good to get you. Good to have your support. Yeah. Basil, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you share your life and experience with us at FiveEyes.tv today. Thank you. Thank you. My Guardian Angel, I started to write some of the compositions, just came out because of that. This is Basil Hodge on FiveEyes.tv. Pianist called Joe Samples, from the Crusaders. Joe Samples. Herbie Hancock, of course, who not only from the funk fusion, but also the straight ahead. And there are other pianists, Jeff Lober. There was another session pianist called Bobby Lyle.